I don't know about you, but I hate doing the paperwork, especially working out how much of my electric bill was for charging my company car and how much was for household stuff. It's a right headache. And with more and more businesses transitioning their fleets to electric and asking their staff to charge at home or whilst out and about, how on earth are the businesses going to make sure that this is all recorded accurately and that their staff aren't left out of pocket? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Ashley Tate from Mina, whose specialist software ensures that fleet drivers and employees who charge a company EV at home are never left paying more than they should. So welcome, Ashley. Welcome to Fully Charged Plus. Can you tell me a bit about how you got into this position, how you started this company?
Life before Mina, so I spent 10 years running a business called Split the Bills, a software platform that sat between energy suppliers and predominantly students, but anybody that really lived in a shared house.
Right.
So we'd manage the utility bills, the energy bills. And towards the end of that, I just got really excited about EV and thought, right, where's the opportunity in EV? So I sold Split the Bills and then started Mina with two other co-founders. When we first started Mina, it was all around consumer, but we realised that it's businesses that were really driving the transition in EV. They were the ones that were buying the majority of the EVs that were coming into the market. And having scrolled through LinkedIn and just heard some of the noise that was going on, it was all around how do we pay to charge? And specifically, how do we pay to charge at home? And just based on what I've done for the last 10 years, I thought, I know exactly how to solve that problem.
But that's one of the things we've seen definitely on the show is the uptake of electric vehicles in fleets is much faster than people buying electric cars privately. So this is going to happen much sooner. There's going to be far more delivery vans or commercial vehicles on the roads that are electric. So what are the big challenges then that are facing companies that run these fleets?
So I think one of the biggest challenges is not charging the vehicles, but how does their business pay for that electricity? Because at home specifically, and if you're lucky enough to be able to charge at home, that is where we all know like 90% of probably that charging is going to happen. But that just gets lumped onto your electricity bill. And it's not itemised, it's not this is the bit for your car, this is the bit for your home. So as an employee, how do you get that money back if you're an employer? And as an employer, how do you know how to pay the right amount of electricity? So we've got solutions like the government's AER rate, which is a pence per mile, but that has recently gone up to 5p. But even if we look at where it started from at 4p, that was a year ago. Electricity was almost half the price that it is today. And the AER is not moving, and I don't think will ever be an accurate way of paying people, because the difference between a tariff that you can get home versus a tariff you can get in public is wildly different, 300, 400%.
So then how, on a day-to-day basis then, how does that operate? So I'm working for company X, I've got my electric car and I just charged it overnight at home. How do I know, and how does my employee know how much I've put in and what it is?
Pretty much every smart charger you can get on the market today has the ability to measure the amount of electricity, and as a driver, you can put a tariff in and it'll tell you the cost. Now, that's great because you could then take that report and give it to your employer, but the chances of it being accurate are unlikely because most people put the tariff in when they set the charger up, or some people do, not everyone does. But that tariff changes, and we saw in the second half of 2021, we saw something like 360 plus different tariff changes across the market.
Wow. Yeah.
So you think, right, how is anyone going to keep on top of that? Two key things that we do at Mina. We have a direct feed into the charge point. We work with pretty much every manufacturer in the UK now, so it doesn't matter what charge point you've got, we can put Mina on it. So we take a feed from that gives us the amount of energy that's gone into the vehicle. And then we also have integrations with all the domestic energy suppliers. So we do two key things there. We track the tariff, so we don't rely on the driver or the employee saying, oh, I'm on 18p when they're on 5, or they're on 18p and they're actually on 25. So we know every day the tariff of every single one of our drivers. So put them two things together and we know the cost. And the second key thing we do is we pay the energy supplier directly. You go home, you plug in your car, we know the cost of it, but you're never out of pocket. You're not then paying your energy supplier.
But then what about when you're out and about? So say you go up to a charge point and, you need to charge to get to the office or whatever. What happens then?
When we first started out, we were very much focused on home, and we realised that we can't just build a product based just on home. So we now have a new product called Chargepass. It's a nice little RFID card, and we focus purely on RFID and not app. And I know that sounds like going backwards given where technology is, but RFID always works.
Yeah.
You've never run out of battery, you never run out of signal. So tap Mina Chargepass, that'll authenticate the charge, all the costs will come into the Mina platform, and then again that appears on the same single bill that goes to the employer for all the costs of charging. We've also got a workplace solution, so if you've got the ability to, you've got a workplace car park, we can put some software on your workplace chargers. The key thing is that all of this is designed to make it really simple.
So then what challenges do businesses face when they decide to transition to an electric fleet? It's quite a big change for them.
How an employer pays to charge that vehicle is one of the biggest challenges. And second to that is understanding the tax around it. There's so much tax benefits, but there's also some grey areas around, okay, is that a benefit or not? For example, it's very clear that you can charge your vehicle in a workplace and even use that vehicle for personal use and pay no tax. Right. But you can't, for example, charge it in public and get that same benefit. There's a lot of challenge around VAT. So VAT at home is 5%, public it's 20%. For finance teams trying to understand what tax they need to pay or don't need to pay can often be a challenge, and we can help them with those sort of things. But ultimately, a lot of it comes down to the payment of charging. That is one of the things that people go, right, let's get EVs, that's relatively simple. Let's get a charger, again, that's relatively simple. But who and how are we going to pay for this is, can be a big hurdle to overcome.
And I mean, one of the things I just can't help wanting to know is, is if the company has been running a fleet with diesel and petrol vehicles, and they start doing this, is there a measurable and noticeable reduction in fuel costs for that fleet? I mean, is that still the case?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's charging at home, the cost saving is astronomical. Yeah. Purely looking at the cost of fuel in the vehicle.
Fuel, yeah.
We're speaking to fleets now that are saying we need electric vehicles in our fleet because we are trying to pitch business, and part of the criteria is that we have to deliver this contract using EVs. Right. So it goes way beyond just a cost saving exercise for these fleets.
But I mean, I think that's sometimes I've heard this with private owners who bought an electric car because of those reasons, and then they go, oh, and it's cheaper. And that's almost been a secondary thing that they're surprised at when they work out how much they spent, say in a month on petrol or diesel. Yeah. So how do the fleet managers know what's going on, who's charging where, how much it's costing, all those things?
The great thing about electricity is that everything's live. So car plugs in, we know it's charging, and we bring all that data into a fleet portal, which the fleet manager or the finance manager, everyone can get access to. The key things that we show on here are the cost. So they can look at the cost of today, yesterday, last year. They can look at it at fleet level or department level or particular driver level. But the other really key thing that fleets are starting to use now is we can report on the amount of carbon, if you like, that has been burnt to charge a specific vehicle. It's a live integration with National Grid. It's based on where you are in the country, where you're charging, the time of day. It is live to 30-minute intervals. And it's also based on the tariff that the driver has at home. So if they're on a 100% renewable tariff, it will be reflected in here. And that allows fleet managers to then, at the click of a button, essentially run a report on the amount of CO2 that has been burnt to charge their fleet. And then they can use that to offset their carbon. And we know from a survey we did recently that 67% of fleets want to offset their carbon. So this makes it incredibly easy for them to do that.
And then presumably they could discuss this with individual drivers going, every time you drive it and you thrash it down the motorway, you're using a lot more. I mean, is there any of that aspect of, look, you can actually drive these cars more economically and you can judge that so much more accurately with electric than with combustion engine? Yeah,
absolutely. And there's two sides to this. So we're working with some telematics providers to bring in some data around how the way they drive in them is impacting. I guess the difference is in petrol world, you put your foot down and suddenly there's a lot more emissions coming out of that tailpipe. In electric world, nothing's coming out of the tailpipe.
That's true.
So the emissions are being burned typically at a power station. Yeah. So it's actually more important when you charge, not so much how you drive.
Right.
So how you drive will burn more energy, so you will ultimately need more energy to go into them vehicles, but not necessarily cause more CO2 to be released at that moment in time.
Right. And what about can the drivers see any of this information? I mean, is there a way they can access this?
So we also have a driver portal, and we found that's really important for giving the drivers reassurance that every charge that they make at home is being recorded. So they plug in at home, that charge session will appear in the driver portal, the duration, the cost. They build up over a month, and then at the end of the month they'll get a notification saying, we have paid your energy supplier £36.20, whatever it is, and here's a full breakdown of every charge. And for a fleet manager or a finance manager, you've got this consolidated view of every charge session, wherever it happens, all in one place.
And then what about, employees that can't charge at home because they've got no off-street parking?
A lot of employers don't want employees sat on public networks because it's an hour, 2 hours out of the day. So we're actually working with a company called Charge Ferry. They are, a ferry, if you like, that turns up next to your vehicle at night and with a great big mobile rapid charger and charges your vehicle while you sleep. You get up the next day and you have a full battery. And the cost of that, again, can be ingested into our platform, so fleet managers can pay for everything all in one place.
So there's lots of different products that are helping EV fleets to manage their fleets, but it seems that the home charging is the really difficult, the really sticky one. So how does Mina cope with that?
As far as we're aware, Mina is the only product in the market at the minute that pays the energy supply directly, and that's the simplest way, if you like, that any employee can charge. Because without paying the energy supply directly, you've got to pay the employee or the driver, and the driver's then got to pay their energy supplier, which they may or may not do. And in terms of accuracy, again, because of some of the experience and some of the relationships that we built up while I was running Split the Bills, we understand how we can automatically monitor tariffs. So we know what tariff a driver's on. We know if they switch energy supplier. We often know if they switch energy supplier before they know they're switching energy supplier. So all that combined allows us to provide a solution that we can pretty much 99.9% guarantee is accurate. And I don't think many other products on the market could provide that level of accuracy. Because we pay the energy suppliers directly, the driver's never out of pocket. A question we get asked quite a lot now by fleets is, how do we stop their partner, their neighbour, whoever, just turned up on the drive, plugging into their charge point, and the fleet eventually ended up paying for that electricity. And we're doing some things with telematics providers, we're doing some things directly with car integrations, so that we know that when that business vehicle plugs in, we know it is that vehicle and it is not another vehicle that's charging.
So I think it's obvious to say the area you're in is a growth business. There's only going to be more of this. So what do you see for Mina in the future? What's coming next?
Beyond, I guess, software solutions, we are today being asked, can we manage the hardware? What about service? What about maintenance? So we are now looking at subscription solutions that include all the hardware you need for home, so your charge points, the service of them charge points, guaranteed uptime of those charge points, because it's all right going out and buying a cheap charger, but if it breaks, that's somebody off the road. So we're now doing packages that say, if somebody can't charge at home, here's a charge pass, go and charge in public for free, until we can fix your charger. So bringing in the end-to-end solution, if you like, for charging. We're also using stuff around connected car, so being able to pull in insights from the car itself, so we can prompt people, do you know you don't need to charge in public today because you've got enough power in your car to get home? And then also international, so very much UK focused at the minute, but we realise this issue exists in Europe, in America, even in Russia, and we're already doing some testing in Germany, and we're looking at some other countries as well.
Right. It's such an exciting area, and presumably, if you've got more control over the charges, then if you're watching the wholesale electricity price and the CO2 of that electricity, and you see it's a really big spike, say at 11:30 in the morning, and you've got cars at work charging, you can go, well, let's not charge them for a few minutes and wait till it gets cheaper and it's cleaner.
Managing charging at the right time
And it's also, if it's kind of invisible in the background, so you, as a driver, you don't have to worry about it. You plug the car in, it may or may not charge.
And you know, that's what we're working towards, and I think in 2 or 3 years' time we'll get to a place where certain cars you'll be able to plug them in anywhere, home, work, public. You won't need to scan any card. We'll know which vehicle is connected to what charger and who we're billing for it.
So Ashley, where can people find out more about Mina?
They can go to our website, mina.co.uk. We're on LinkedIn. We're also producing a white paper which is all around how fleets can go electric and all the kind of pitfalls and things that they may not have thought about. So they can download that from our website.
Great. Thank you so much. And if you want to find out more, all the links that Ashley just talked about are going to be in the description box beneath this video. But that's it for this episode of the Fully Charged Plus show. I thank Ashley and the folks at Mina for doing, I think, really critically important work. It's really exciting to see what they're doing. We'll be back soon with more wonderful, juicy episodes. Please do subscribe to the Fully Charged Plus channel. And as always, if you have been, thank you for watching.